everyone. Thank you for joining us at World of Pets podcast. We love having you here on a weekly basis. And we want our pets to live as long as possible, but we want that to be a good quality life. So to that end, we on this podcast explore all things about pets and animals so that we can have them around for a long time, but they are living a quality life. So again, thank you for joining us. Take it away, hosts.
All right, welcome into World of Pets podcast, guys. Tonight, I welcome my co-host in Anthony. He's just become one of my best friends over life, and tonight we have a special guest, Genie Joseph, and we're going to talk about how to touch your pets to give them therapy. So take it away, because that's a brand new subject to me.
Well, it's really exciting. I am the executive director of the Human Animal Connection. We're a nonprofit organization, and we teach classes to students and adults. And one of the things that we teach is a system of soothing touch. And what is exciting about these methods that we use is that not only are they good for the animal that you're working with, but they're just as good for the human who's giving them. So that is very much a part of our philosophy, is that it should feel as good to give as it feels to get. And so we teach students a number of different techniques, and we work with over 4,000 service members. We have a high school program called Canines Teach Compassion, and we bring therapy animals into the classroom, and we teach the students some simple techniques. So I'll show you the very first one. You can follow along with me. We're going to tap this point right here. So on a human, it would look like this. And this is actually an energy meridian. It's the kidney meridian. And this is very much related to feeling stress and fear, insecurity, which animals can absolutely feel, humans can absolutely feel. And so just by gently tapping this point, and when I presented this to the Tucson Pet Collective, two of the people told me that this one technique helped them with animals who are afraid of thunder. So it's a very soothing technique that you can just simply do. You can do it for yourself. Go ahead and try it with me, Rumble and Anthony. Yeah. And just notice it's just kind of soothing. It's a very gentle thing. And you just need to do it for maybe 10 seconds or so. You can kind of pay attention to the animal. The animal will give you cues as to when they've had enough energy, enough healing energy, and when they need to assimilate. So it's not about doing it for a long time. It's about doing it for the right amount of time, right for that animal.
Yeah. So when you're saying, like, if it was on a person,
yeah.
So would that be over the heart, on the left side or the right side?
It's right in the middle. So it's right in it's the kidney meridian.
Like
kidney meridian. Yeah. So it's right here.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of in the middle above the heart. And you'll see people when they're stressed, they go, oh, they'll just naturally put their hands here. If you see people at funerals, you'll see people doing this, so it's intuitive, and it helps the body reset the nervous system. And one of the things that happens with animals, especially like animals who've been in shelters or in traumatic situations, is their nervous system gets stuck on being on high alert. And so we have to show them how they can relax, how they can get back to a calm state. And this is one of the ways that we can do that, is just with this gentle hand motion. So that's one of the techniques that we start with. So that's one of our most basic ones. We have about 7 that we use routinely.
Now, Jeannie, I have a question.
Yeah.
Would this work on, all like earth-dwelling mammals, not just like domesticated indoor pets? Like, for example, would it work on a horse?
Yes, it'll work on a horse.
On a cow?
It'll work on a cow. Yeah. And I use it with my donkeys. We have 2 therapy donkeys, 2 miniature therapy donkeys. And it's a very friendly and soothing touch. And right away, you can watch their eyes just kind of relax, and everything just kind of settles. And everything is better when a being is relaxed, because whenever we're in a fear state, we're less able to make good decisions as humans, and as animals, we're more likely to react or resist, even helpful treatments and so on. So getting an animal to relax is one of the keys to having good interactions with them.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, having raised blind dachshund. That was probably his favorite thing, was right here on his chest and under his chin.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I could get him centered, and he would relax. So
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it works. And
hmm
once we get the nervous system, into a relaxed state, then everything else goes well. Like if you're in a training session, a relaxed animal is going to learn faster, is going to retain the information better. An animal that's stressed is going to potentially have a negative reaction to another dog or another person or a medical procedure. So when you're going to the vet's office, and you're sitting there in that waiting room, instead of just fidgeting around, go ahead and tap this point, because this really gives the animal a feeling, oh, okay, everything is okay. And that's what they need. We all want to be relaxed. Nobody wants to feel like, there's something bad is about to happen or the bear is going to come through the door, So I love these different techniques because they can all be done in under a minute. Is your audience all in Tucson or all over the world? I was going to tell you about things going on in Tucson, but if you're
well, definitely Colorado and Tucson.
okay.
all over. I mean, yeah, this
Oh.
streams on YouTube, so wherever people on
Coming, yeah,
YouTube find it.
but yeah, so we teach these different techniques, and the next thing I'll tell you about is something. It's a fancy French word called effleurage, and it just means slow massage. So if this were the animal right here, I'm going to go from the top of the head, the base of the neck, and I'm going to very, very slowly move my hand down. And this is different from petting. Now, there's nothing wrong with petting. Anytime your animal enjoys petting, feel free to pet. These are just some therapeutic moves that have a little bit more benefit than petting. So in this effleurage, we're going to actually use two hands, but I'm holding the animal. Let's see if I can do this with two hands. So we're going to have one hand here. One hand is moving. The other hand is already ready. So I'm never going to go like this, because this is for the nervous system. They have to process the hand going off of the body. So we're always keeping one hand on the body and the other hand is moving like this, and even slower than that. And what this is doing is it slows down my nervous system and it slows down the animal's nervous system. And they go, oh, I know what's happening now. Time to relax. And it's just this very gentle, soft, and fluid motion where we're always in contact with the animal. And what this doing, we're going from the top of the head all the way to the tail. You don't necessarily have to touch the tail, but to right where the tail starts. And this helps the animal get integrated. Sometimes when humans have trauma, we literally kind of separate from our body. We get disassociated from our body. I mean, not literally totally separated, but in consciousness, we get separated. And this can happen to animals too. And this long flowing motion with these soft, gentle hands helps the body go, oh, okay, I'm in a body now. Which is where we want our animals to have a good sense of their body. So connecting the head to the tail through this gentle motion helps them to reintegrate, and then they can do their own healing work. So what's interesting about these techniques is that they're very healing, but I'm not healing the animal. What I'm doing is I'm getting the animal into a relaxed state so they can do their own natural healing themselves. So that's kind of our philosophy. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I find that animals, touch is a language. It's a language that we can use, and we can touch in ways that feel good, or we can touch in ways that don't feel good. I mean, touches can be used for good or for not good, right? But animals really sense our intention. When we put our hands on them in a loving way, they go, oh, thank you. I mean, they don't say it out loud in that way, but you can tell by the way their body relaxes that a healing and soothing and loving touch is just what they need.
Yeah.
And so we love teaching the high school students these techniques, because what it does is it not only helps the dog relax. We bring our therapy dogs into the classroom with our program. It's called Canines Teach Compassion. And it's wonderful for the kids to pet and interact with the dogs, but we're also teaching them these techniques. And we teach them to recognize when a dog is in a stress state. And we call it like the worst stress a person or a dog could feel is like what we call a 10. It's the worst on the scale is a 10. 1 is the most relaxed. So humans, animals, we're moving up and down the scale all day long, all the time. Things happen, take us to a 7. We woke up, we're at a 3. Somebody calls us, it's a bad phone call. We go up to an 8. This is what happens all day long. And so we teach them to recognize that as they're observing the animals, and it helps them to understand it because it's true of the animals. What's true for the animals is true for themselves. So I'll say to one of the students, I'll say, well, what's Buddy right now? Buddy's our newest therapy dog. He's a German Shepherd. And they'll say, well, Buddy's about a 7. And I'll say, okay, great. What are you right now? And they go, well, I guess I'm about a 7. I say, isn't that interesting? So then we'll do one of our soothing techniques. And I'll say, okay, now what's Buddy? I think Buddy's about a 3. Great. Well, what are you? I'm about a 3. And the moral of the story is energy is contagious. We're always transferring energy back and forth, but sometimes we're transferring energy that's stressy energy, but we can also learn how to transfer energy that's healing and soothing and calming energy.
Right.
Yeah. Does that sound good to you?
That's actually fascinating because when you like have to confront somebody, you got to buck up or bark up, if you will.
Yeah.
You gotta set up who's the alpha in the room.
Yes.
It's a really good point of knowledge to have.
Yes.
That you can just draw that back with some pressure points and
yes.
soothing.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, Bree just asked a question in the chat and she said, can you explain what you're looking for in the animal's body when you do this? What tells you if the animal is actually relaxing and not just freezing? If someone is watching this at home, what's the first thing they should notice? Great question, because a freeze is exactly the opposite of what we want. A freeze is a shutdown. And when you see a freeze, the animal will get very still. They might have a hard stare. They're really in a state of shutting down their nervous system, because they're either going to have to flee or they're going to have to fight. So they're in a frozen state. When you're seeing what I'm doing with this technique, what you're going to see, the animal might have started sitting up or standing up, and all of a sudden they're going to just start to the head's going to go down. They're going to end up probably with their head on the floor, and and it's a very soft thing. They're not going to collapse, they're not going to fall down.
Right.
It's just the sense of the animal, the eyes are beginning to soften, the body gets softer, more curvy, and often they'll feel the desire to lay down. And when we see that we know that those are the relaxation responses as opposed to the stress responses. And it's very, very good to be observing your animals. Like if you're out on a walk and you see your animal go into this freeze state, and they're staring at the dog across the street and the other dog's staring back at you, we want to break that right away because that stressy body language tells us this could go the wrong way if we're not paying attention. So this is very, very important to be able to watch the body language. And then Bree's also asking in what is one of the technique that's safest for beginners. So that's why I showed you the first one, the tapping on the kidney meridian, which is when animals are feeling stressed, their kidney meridian is overstimulated. We want to relax that right away by just this very soft touching. So I teach this to children as young as 3, learn how to do this with animals and with themselves, all the way up to seniors. And it's just amazing how fast that can work.
She also followed up her first question with, how do pets show stress before it turns into a behavior problem? And I think that's big.
Yeah.
Because most behavior problems are viewed as aggression and not stress. So
exactly.
How does a pet or an animal show stress before it turns into a behavior problem?
Exactly right. Well, if there is chronic stress, it's going to turn into a behavioral problem. And we have the point of view in the human-animal connection that all behavior and all quote-unquote problems are emotions that the animal doesn't know how to manage. So the animal wants something that they're not getting. It could be a sense of freedom. It could be connection. It could be escape. And there's something that the animal needs that they're not getting. And the human is also not recognizing what that need is and maybe try to do something else with the animal, like correct them, overcorrect them, or make them sit or do something when the animal needs to have some freedom. And this is one of the things that can happen a lot on leashes, is that, leashes, of course, we have to use them in our human society, but the fact is animals don't like them. They're not, it's not what an animal wants, because an animal wants to be free to move away from a situation that's stressful, to make their own choices about how close or how far they're going to be to a trigger or a stressor. And humans are often missing those early cues. I think we were talking a little bit about that freeze response. So if we see an animal suddenly go stiff, like they're like, they're locked in place, or they're staring, that animal is in a very high stress state, and we need to shift that state right away. So the first thing we need to do is break the eye contact. Whatever that animal is staring at is probably something that's triggering the animal. So we need to give them something else to look at by turning our body, walking the other direction, getting the animal back into motion. Because whenever the animal's in motion, then they're not in the freeze state. So if you let two dogs stand there like this, two dogs facing each other, staring at each other, we're probably going to have a problem if they don't know each other, right? We know they're not already friends. But when we see this stare down, that's a sign that we need to turn. We need to go the other direction. So we need to break that eye contact.
Sure. I've had some of those encounters.
Yeah,
Somebody else asked in the chat, in the chat also asked, what can you do to get a pet to be still, or to accept the treatment, the touch therapy from the beginning?
Absolutely. Good question. So the first thing that's most important is I need to look at, where is my energy? If I'm at a 9, I'm not going to be able to help myself or an animal or a person. Okay. Right. So the first thing I need to do is check my own, what's my energy level? What's my stress level? If I'm at a 9, I need to get myself calm before I touch an animal. But if I'm touching an animal at 5 or below, the animal is probably going to receive it well, because they can feel it. I was just doing a session with a client who had 2 little dogs that, it was like a blended family, husband and wife got together with 2 little dogs, and the dogs are not particularly happy together. They're getting pretty excited. And so I showed them some of these techniques so that they could work on creating first the humans getting calm, which affects the dogs. And right away, I just showed them what happens. Okay, the dogs were going crazy, bark, 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 struggle, growl, growl, teeth and the whole thing. And I just got calm. And the one dog came over to me and just laid against me, because they love calm. They crave it. So do we. Do we like being with people who are angry in the grocery store and somebody's throwing a fit? We don't want to be near that person. Yeah. As the animals, they're so aware. They understand our energy, and they will often take the opportunity to engage with us in a calm state if we're in a calm state.
That's fascinating. Anthony, do you have anything to say on that?
No, a couple of those techniques looked very comfortable. Anybody that would like to demonstrate? I do have a question. Now we're talking about human animal touch, right? In that connection. So when you're petting your dog, say, for example, and they kind of do that thing with their foot where you've hit their tickle spot.
Yeah.
What is that actually?
That's pleasure, So,
but I mean, what is that called? Is that,
does it have a name?
Every dog? It's like a spot of stimulation, right? But why is it different in every dog?
Well, every dog has a different spot, right? So, one dog likes it over here, another dog likes it over there. So, I mean, that's one of the fun things in developing the bond with your animals, that the map of that animal's body. He hates it when I touch his paws, but he loves it when I tickle him here, or he loves it when I scratch him by his butt, on the tail. So every dog's going to be a little different. I live with 3 dogs. 2 of them love having their butt scratched, and the third one doesn't want it at all. So it's not like there's one size fits all. It's just the same way you are. There are ways that you like to be touched that, Rumble doesn't like it the way, if I tried to do to Rumble what I do to you, maybe you know what I mean? Everybody has something different. And that's our job as humans, is to be able to read and see, is the animal, when I touch this animal, are they going up the scale or down the scale? If they're going up the scale, I'm doing something they don't like. And you'll sometimes see people, they're petting their dog kind of on autopilot. They're on their cell phone and they're just going like this, And they're not really paying attention to whether or not the animal's enjoying it. And of course, they love us, so they put up with us. You know, they go, "Oh, that's the way they are, humans. They're not paying attention. I'll be, you know, they're not going to complain." But you know, we can do better. We can pay better attention. We can notice, okay, this dog really likes this, and this dog really likes that. So that's what I'm going to do with those dogs. And the other thing to pay attention to as humans is that, and if anybody has any cats, they know if you pet a cat longer than the cat wants to be petted, what happens? They will let you know, right?
They let you know.
They'll let you know. You're going to feel it, right? And you know, dogs are maybe not going to necessarily do that. Most dogs won't do that. Some will, but so this is something that we need to pay attention to. Is okay. Well, this animal loved it when I was tapping, but after 10 seconds, the animal's had enough of that, or however many seconds. I'm just making that up at 10. But you know, the point is that as humans, our job is to really pay attention to all the signals that the animal is giving us. And one of the ways we can tell if an animal leans into us, that's a good sign that they're liking what we're doing. But if the animal moves away from us, that's a sign maybe they're full. They've had enough of that energy, and we need to just stop for a moment or for a while. And this is something we call in the human animal connection. We have 33 principles of healing. And one of them is this concept of towards and away. So an animal that's not traumatized will move towards what feels good and safe, and away from what doesn't feel good, what doesn't feel safe. And in healthy individuals, this mechanism is working very well. But when people have been habitually traumatized, or animals have been habitually traumatized, what happens is this natural kind of GPS of towards and away gets messed with. And instead of moving towards what's safe, they move to what's familiar. So this is why if you're volunteering in the shelter and you go and you work with a traumatized dog and you come in there all happy and smiley and wanting to give them love and a treat, and the dog goes to the edge of the kennel, makes himself as flat as possible, tiny as possible, gets as far away from you as possible. Because even though you're coming in with a good intention and you want to help, that animal's wiring is interfered with, and they can't recognize that you're coming in for good. You're coming to give them a treat or take them for a walk. And so we have to be very patient and slow with those animals until they can begin to get their towards and away signal system working correctly.
That makes me think of Sesame Street, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because those are a lot of lessons that we had, like near, far, right? All kinds of stuff that that were basics about raising even children, right?
Exactly.
And I love that example because all of my dachshunds, all three of them, they were burrowers. When they were done getting their attention, they were under their blanket. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
And they would go into the box. That's what we called it, not the kennel. We called it the box.
Yeah.
You know, and so once they're done with that attention that they wanted or needed,
yes,
they would just go to their own space and
they're done.
Exist. Yeah.
You know, I mean, can you imagine if humans were that honest about their emotions and what relationships would be like? You know, I'm done. Okay, I'm going to go to my cave now. Right?
So I would say I'm going to be in my office.
Yeah.
I'm not going to work.
I just got to say, David, that I was never into Sesame Street until I realized that you could get a Sesame Street bun at McDonald's.
Oh,
that's sesame seed. Never mind.
Yeah. We knew what you meant. Don't. Well, you know, what's interesting is, you know, like with people who've been in abusive relationships, you can move them across the country and 15 minutes later, they're in the same relationship, different person, but it's the same dynamic. And that's because they're oriented towards what's familiar instead of what's safe. And this is one of the work we do with people who've had trauma with our donkeys, because donkeys are all animals are healing, of course. All animals are wonderful. No one's better than another. But one of the things that's wonderful about donkeys is they have an innate sense of safety. They will only move, if they're not being abused, they will only move a foot if it feels safe to put that foot there. And so this really can help humans to recognize the orientation towards safety. And when we teach humans that, we begin to help them remember what in their body, where is that sense of safety? Because we all have it. You can't take it away, but you can get it offline, right? So it comes back online right away when people understand, move towards what feels good. This is good. Move away from what feels bad. And they go, oh, it's like Sesame Street. It's like, duh, right? But it's so important. Yeah.
So we have a question about your book. So let me ask her a question, and then you can tell us about your book. I didn't even know that you wrote a book.
I've written a couple of books. Yeah.
Well, let me ask the question, and then we can talk about your books.
Okay, then.
It says, in your book, The Human-Animal Connection, you talk about understanding the feelings and desires of animals. Hold on a second. Hey, what's something you've learned that completely changed how you interact with them?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. My book, The Human-Animal Connection, explains everything that I'm talking about here, the 33 principles. And one of the things we talk about is that animals have opinions, they have emotions, they have an inner life. And the better that we understand that, the better the relationships, the better behavior is going to be. So an example recently in a session I did this weekend, we had these two little dogs, and the humans were saying, dinner time is so chaotic, that as soon as he starts preparing, and he does a nice preparation with a lot of good things in the food, so it takes him anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Meanwhile, the dogs are going crazy, right? And I'm also a dog trainer, so I had offered them some different things for other issues that were training issues. But when it came to this, what I did is, instead of giving them a training pointer, what I said was, let me ask the dog. So I asked the dog, I said, what's going on around dinner time? Well, why are you turning into Cujo at dinner when you know that the dinner is coming? It comes at the exact same time, 5 o'clock every night, and you turn into a maniac. So what the dog said to me was, while he's making the dinner, because remember, he's getting all the smells and, all the things he's seeing, is like, it's overstimulating. And he said, give me something to eat, like a little bit of peanut butter and a Kong, as soon as it's time to make the dinner, so I can be eating while my person is preparing the meal. Okay. Solved the whole problem. They've been going around, all these trainers they had, teaching them different things. None of these things worked because it wasn't addressing the emotional need, wasn't recognizing that what was happening was that the dog was being overstimulated by the preparation of food. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't asked the dog. Well, of course, I'm an animal communicator, so I can do this, right? So I do telepathic communication with animals. So lots of times these so-called intractable behavior problems are just emotions, feelings that the animal's having, needs that aren't being met. And it's the same thing. If you have, a human in a relationship and their needs aren't being met, they're going to start acting badly, doing different things that are maybe not desirable. So once we understand what the animal needs, everything can change.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because when I had my 3 dogs, anytime that I would cook, they would just be like under my feet. I'm like, okay, here's a snack. And then they'd leave me alone.
There you go. It's like, it's so easy, right? It's so easy. A problem that was like really, these owners these people were really struggling with this chaos of dinner time and didn't really understand it, didn't have a pathway out. And something as simple as give the dog a treat, or in this case, he was very specific, was peanut butter and a Kong, because it was going to slow him down. It was something that was enjoyable. It was something he was familiar with, and all of these things work. So there are so many. I could tell you, I'd keep you here all night telling you all the stories. But one time I was working with what turned out to be actually a wolf blend. The woman didn't know she had adopted this dog, and he was actually a wolf blend. So he had very high prey drive, and she had cats. And we went through all, she, with other trainers, she went through all these different techniques of putting the cats in a kennel in the center and letting the dog walk around, all these different things. I said, let me ask the cats what they want. And I asked the cats, and they said, this isn't fair. Let's put the dog in the kennel and let us walk around. They just gave us a completely different viewpoint about what would work. And that worked so much better. So sometimes we just need to ask the animal and get information from them, and then things can go back to harmony, because we all want harmony, but we just don't always know how to get it, because if we don't understand the emotion that's driving behavior, we're kind of just working blind. You know what I mean? We're kind of not really
I don't
getting
know
to it.
I don't know that we all want harmony all the time. My youngest sibling is named Harmony, and
Oh.
sometimes she's a bit dissident. And so I'm not sure that we want harmony all the time.
Okay, maybe not that harmony. Yeah.
I know we have another question come up. Can you read that, Anthony?
Yeah, I can read it. Oh, you want me to? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What do animals teach us about love and safety that we often forget as humans?
Yeah, well, that's one of the main reasons that dogs are in our life, is to teach us about love, because they love in such a pure way. You know, a human can say, I love you, and not mean it, right? But a dog is not going to lie about love. They love you, they hate you, they're scared of you, they like you. So you get what it is, right?
There's no in-betweens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what's so wonderful, is the authentic nature of an animal's love helps us humans feel it for real. And you know, when I had this one of my therapy dogs, Harry, in class, I brought him into working with a high school student. This is Harry right here. I hope you can see that. And Harry went up to this one girl, and he just like stayed with her the whole class. He just snuggled with her, wouldn't let her go. And this went on for weeks and weeks. You know, he was just like, he would just go to her. And I found out later, she told me that she was in foster care and nobody knew. So Harry knew. He didn't know that she was in foster care, but he knew that she needed some extra love. She, you know, and this is a room full of students who all needed love. But this was one little, very shy girl. She never spoke in class. We asked her questions, she would barely answer. But he reached across that isolation, that pain. He saw her as this beautiful being, and he just gave her this beautiful love. So yeah.
It's me right here.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So Jeannie, as we wrap things up, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your books.
Okay.
You've mentioned Tucson a couple times. Are you based out of Tucson?
I am based in Tucson.
And
so
if a listener wanted to get a hold of you or your organization, how would they go about doing that? So your books,
they can go.
Get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. They can go to the website, thehumananimalconnection.org. And that's also the name of my book, which is on Amazon. And my other book is about making homemade dog food. It's called The Wholesome Canine Cuisine. And this is to help you get started making homemade dog food, because as you know, commercial dog food is very unhealthy for dogs. And dogs are not living as long as they could because they're on this, you know, really poor commercial diet. So people can get started doing that. So at the Human Animal Connection, you can email me. We have some free gifts, and you can book a consultation if you'd like to have a conversation with your animal.
Fantastic. Man, thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Yeah.
I think we're going to run to our outro. And again, thanks again, Deb, for hosting us with World of Pets podcast. And let's roll out.
Thank you. I'm glad that you joined us for At World of Pets podcast. We would like for you to take a look at what our sponsors have to offer, and that sponsor is debspets.com. You can access it through the QR code, or you can just go to the website. So thank you for joining us, and hope to see you again next week.